Hey everybody, Andrew Hogue here, your security, privacy, and forensics expert. And I'm on to my next step, writing a simple Hacker News reader using GitHub Copilot X. After setting up the repository, it's now time to kick off a number of GitHub Actions. And what I want to do is be able to have an action that will automatically build and scan my application at different points in the developer lifecycle. So the first thing that I want to do is anytime I create a new branch and make a commit to that branch, I want to make sure that I do a quick static binary scan using NowSecure. And then when I do pull requests to merge that branch into main, I want to do both a static scan and a full dynamic scan, because that's really the best time to catch any security issues. And then lastly, if I make a release, I want to make sure that I do another full scan. That's just going to take into account perhaps any other changes that happened in the main branch. And I just think it's a good idea to do a full security scan before you hand things off to QA and get ready to release it to the public stores. So with that in mind, let's dive right in and see what GitHub Copilot can do to help us with these tasks. So I actually have some detailed tutorials on this topic, and if you go out to my personal website, andrewhogue.com, you can see them by clicking on GitHub Actions under the tags. So I have one about building an iOS app with GitHub Action, and it will walk you through all of the code, everything that you need to do to get this up and running. And this is really kind of one-time config, and then you can forget it after that. Similarly, I have one out there about building a React Native iOS app, and that one I wanted to just point out briefly because it's a little more complicated as there are multiple provisioning profiles involved. And so this particular script will not only walk you through how to do things manually if you don't let Xcode do it for you, but also get into the particulars of managing multiple provisioning profiles. So I'm not going to cover that now because it's redundant, but I'll make sure I link to it in the video. And if you come back, you'll see what I did last night is I created a static only workflow. And again, I was just copying the contents from the blogs that I've already done. Now, after some minor adjustments for the name of the particular application that I'm building, I decided that I really want to change how and when I run this scan. And so right now I have it running on a workflow dispatch, which is just kind of a manual trigger. But what I really want to do is run this anytime there's a push, but I don't want to do it on the main branch because that's one where I want to run dynamic. So let's throw in a little comment here and see if we can get Copilot to help us write it. So we want to run on a push not to the main branch, to any branch except main. Okay, let's see what we get here. So on a push, branches ignore main. Awesome. All right, let's go ahead and save this. And I'm actually not currently using a branch for this work. I guess this is kind of inside the repository setup. So right now I'm just committing directly to main, and I do need to get out of the habit of doing that. Normally I do this command line, but I'm going to see about doing this through VS Code. So I think I just stage the commit here. And then I say, quick comment, run on all push. Run on push to any branch except main. So let's go ahead and commit that. And then I think you have to, not refresh, I guess push that to the main repo. Okay. Now in theory, that should not kick off a scan because we just committed directly to main. So let's see. Yep, we just have a commit here to main. And if I come under actions, I don't see anything that's running. So I ran this last night. I got everything up and running. But next time we kick off some scans inside a branch, this should automatically trigger, and we'll go ahead and test that later. Now, the next thing that I want to do is actually kick off scans when we do a pull request or a new release. And originally, I was going to create two separate workflow files, but I think that's kind of silly. One of the things that I could look into is creating reusable workflows and things of that sort, or composite workflows. But that's a little bit too much work right now. So I'm just going to come in here, and really a lot of the stuff here is exactly the same because I want to come out and build the application. So I'm just going to copy this guy. And then let's come in to this new YAML file. And let's go ahead and paste in here. Now we want to change this up a bit. So let's call this a full scan. Well, let's just call it a dynamic. And obviously we want to be able to trigger it manually for testing. But here we need to change this because we don't want to omit main. We actually want to primarily focus on main and pull requests. So let's go ahead and delete this. And again, let's get Copilot to help us write this. Run on pull requests or new release. All right, let's see what we get. Okay, so it's keeping this as a comment. Let's come back and look at the syntax on this run. Yeah, run on push. So we want to run on, well, maybe we should create these separately. That's probably confusing it. So let's kill this guy and let's put in a new comment. Run on pull requests. Let's see what we get. Okay, so I had to do new pull request. So let's see, pull request, branches main. That's actually pretty good. I think I do want to just have that on main. And I think I'm going to stop there. So now we want to also do on new releases. And so I'm not sure if I want it to be published or not, but I think for now I'm just gonna leave it that. I'll say new, so let's undo that. Let's get rid of these two lines here. And let's say new releases or pre-releases. Okay. Interesting. All right. Well, really didn't change anything there. Let's see what we've got here. Unexpected value pull requests. I think this is a YAML spacing issue, so I'm just going to change the spacing here and see how this works. That gets rid of the error. Okay, so so now we've got a scan here that will run on pull requests against main and any published release. So again, I think we're just gonna have to experiment with that and see. And then I'm gonna come down here and get rid of the analysis type of static only for now secure. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this. And then let's come up here and commit it. So we'll add all right, let's commit this guy and let's go ahead and push. Now I do believe there's a way with the extension that I added that I could probably go kick that job off from VS Code, but I'm gonna go ahead and pop over to the repo real quick and let's take a look and see. Okay, so now we have built-in scan, dynamic scan, and static only. Static only is the one that I did earlier. So the dynamic scan, again, we could take a quick look at this, but this should be on pull requests and on releases. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kick this job off and see if we can get a successful run here in a couple of minutes. So instead of waiting for this to complete, I'm just gonna go ahead and wrap things up here. But I think so far it was helpful. I struggled a little bit with some of the comments and candidly the spacing and YAML files, which I always struggle with. Some of this may be just my familiarity with VS Code and things of that sort. And I'm not actually sure that I got the releases thing right. I actually haven't really used releases before, so this is kind of a new area for myself anyway. So I'll go ahead and see whether or not this scan was successful, and then we'll touch on that briefly at the start of the next video. And then from there, we're going to be ready to create our next branch and start to recreate some of the files and quickly get back into coding the application and hopefully displaying the results of the top news in our main screen really soon. Thanks so much for watching, and see you soon.